At the beginning of most people's kind of startup journeys, I think there's a bunch of things that they assume and try and get right, and they come at that kind of the point where you've just had the idea and where you're full of enthusiasm and you have either a vision of what the solution is or a really good view on the problem that you're trying to solve. And that's great, but actually the most important thing that you could get to help you is time. And whether that's borrowed time from friends and family or savings, or it's free services from the people around you that allow you to move the solution that you're trying to get to on at a faster rate without you kind of having to go get another job, are really important. And I think you forget that when you're in that moment that you're trying to buy time essentially for the first few years of your startup.
The key factors, I think, that early stages of Unmade have been the combination of the founders who set up Unmade. So there's Hal, Ben and myself. Hal and Ben are both from engineering backgrounds and I'm from a fashion and knitwear background, which is quite an unusual combination, which has also been able to give us all these different perspectives on the problem, which has really, really been helpful.
When I launched Pact, I was alone in my kitchen with no money and just an idea. I think probably the one thing which was critical at that point, and it stayed critical through every other stage of growth, is deeply caring about real empathetic two-way relationships with our customers.
So I think a lot of disruptive brands, when they're going into complicated markets, go into the market with overcomplicated propositions. So really trying to hone it down to one sentence that you can communicate to the consumer. In the case of ClearScore, it's get your credit score for free forever. Doesn't get any simpler than that. Really easy to communicate.
I think international ambition and scale was important early on. I think we realized we needed to be an international business, based as much in America as we were in Europe. And so that tech credibility, if you like, was important to establish early on. So some of our initial early investors were, on the Valley, in the Valley and in New York. And that helped as well.
So it's been really important throughout our journey to set milestones for the things that we're going to prove. For example, when we were raising at seed, we knew exactly that we wanted to prove two things with the money. That's it, no more, no less. Don't complicate it. How much could we acquire a customer for, and whether or not they'd actually go ahead and repeat.
When we first started, we were given a grant by Innovate UK to run a feasibility study for 3 months where we were able to prove that we thought that actually this idea could work and it was realistic.
Right from the start, it was born from an understanding of how to tell stories brilliantly through video. So these days, a Copper90 fan spends about 47 minutes per week with Copper90 content. So that's like Game of Thrones without the adverts. Which is a long time. So a lot of our younger audience, everyone says, have kind of constant partial attention, and yet they can spend an inordinate amount of time with content if you deliver it in the right ways.
So in the early days, I had no marketing budget. My first 1,000 customers were acquired through me spending all day obsessively talking about coffee on Twitter. And when I gained someone's trust, when they thought, yeah, I'm going to give this a try, I'm going to see what these guys are about, I would pack their coffee by hand, jump on my bike and deliver it to their home. So I met our first 1,000 customers face to face. It enabled me to tweak and hone our proposition, our website, our product lines to make sure that they were exactly what our customers wanted. But also importantly, I think set the DNA for the business.
So when a disruptive brand starts out in its early days, I think it's really important to have that vision and stick to that vision all the way through. There's going to be challenges and obstacles thrown in your way from either an investment perspective or people not believing in your idea. But if you really believe that your proposition and your vision for the changing the customer experience within your industry is valid, then really stick to your guns and take that risk. It can really pay off.